Welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my second guest today is Eugene Lefrancois, a local artist and wears many hats or hair coverings. So, welcome, Eugene.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, you've got a connection as well today morning, as did Jules.
Yes, I'm an injured worker. I got hurt June 5th, 1985. I'm an artist, I'm an advocate, and also an activist. And I did art, I guess, all my life. My mother said I never met a wall I didn't like.
Oh no, was she going around cleaning up
No,
afterwards?
she would just paint over it and got a fresh canvas. But I did art all my life, and then when I started working, I was doing art in the bush camps. I used to work on the lake boats, and I used to do art there because you got lots of time to do art. And I did art stuff. I used to do portraits. I used to do landscape. I used to do animals and everything. But I like doing what I do now.
So your art career has evolved over time. I know when I first met you, it was through the Injured Workers. You had a show at the
Definitely Superior.
Definitely Superior Art Gallery, and I remember going into that show, and you had it set up like it was in the bush, like that's where you got hurt, eh?
I remember that show. I just you triggered it. I set it up as a forest. And I had paintings there of how it happened, how my injury happened. I had sounds. I had a cast on the floor. I had a power saw. I had trees all over. And you had to walk, step over each stump to get to the next painting. Yeah, that was in 1988.
So that was a few years after you got injured at work.
Yes.
How do you see that relationship? I mean, obviously, here's this show you did, this one-man show that really captured a lot of your feelings, I guess, about your injury and your workplace.
Well, I started doing art, I just used to do it, but then I started doing art as a painkiller. I was taking a lot of drugs. I mean, OxyContin for years. And then I couldn't take it anymore, but you're in pain still. But I still did drawings. Well, actually, I got some of those drawings that are drug related, and then some are drug free. It's all drug free now. I just drink espresso and coffee.
The drug of choice.
And it really helped me get through my injury. I think I was able to work through it through my art, and I try to help a lot of other injured workers with getting through their pain and getting through their story with art, because it works. It really works. Time flies. You don't have pain. It depends on what you're doing. If you got your hand is cut off, it's kind of hard to paint on that one. So I mean, if we tape it, it's still hard. But I mean, there's so many injuries out there that can really be beneficial to art.
So you brought in a number of your recent work. I remember you also did workshops for injured workers. It was
Yes.
Paint Your Pain, if I recall.
And I'm still working on that paint here. I want to expand it. But I used to have, the one story is we had these two big bush cutters come in. Great big giant guys. And they were injured. And there was a whole room of injured workers. And we got to talking. Once you got painting, then you're receptive to talking, because you're now relaxed and your guards are down. And we got to talking to those bush cutters about how they were treated by the WSIB. They were not treated well, for one thing. And they let it be known in their paintings that they were not treated well. But also it triggered, I guess, the advocacy in them, because they fought the WSIB. Once they found out that they were not alone, they got to talk with other injured workers who were in exactly the same boat.
Let me give you another piece here to show.
Yeah, when I do these pieces, I usually have no rhyme or reason when I start. I have a pen, and I put a line down, another line, and I look at it, and all of a sudden a little story comes out of something that triggered in my past. Something my grandmother said, my neighbor said, my friends, how injured workers are treated, how I was treated, how people I have heard who were, the world. And I usually used to do a lot of painting at night. I still do. But I used to listen to the news. And the news, you could pretty well figure out if the news was, not bad or if it was really, really terrible. And I worked through trying to be sane through my art. I think that's what's keeping me motivated, because being an advocate, you feel everybody's pain, and you have to let it out. So I let it out through my art. I feel sorry for the people who have no outlet. It is tough. Being an activist and an advocate is tough. At the best of times, it's tough. And then when it gets personal, it's even tougher.
So your art, I oftentimes see similarities and themes in your current work. Like this example, you've got both parts of nature. You oftentimes have the sun and trees, and oftentimes a sleeping giant. Here's another one. But then you have other things like birds are common, and eyes.
Well, eyes are like the windows to our soul. Feathers usually means wisdom and power. The sleeping giant is a perfect perspective line. You can't ask for anything better, just to put a line across the piece of paper and have a dude sitting on, laying on it. Actually, he's got a girlfriend in New Zealand.
Oh, the sleeping giant.
Yeah. And I just hope one day they do not get up and meet each other. But mostly it's all like clouds. Everybody feels gray, but you always have to look through the clouds, and there's blue on the other side. It's not all doom and gloom. And like this one, it's the feathers is symbol of power, symbol of knowledge. The dream catcher, the circle, and this one is typically a dream catcher, but it's my own design, and I don't want to be one held responsible that this is the dream catcher of the world. It's not. Trees I use as a symbol of nature, of power, of us. Without them, we're dead. The sun, without fire, humans, we just survived the winter, and just think how this winter would have been if we had no heat. Water, you got stars, you got sky. You just look up at night, and there's a bazillion stars out there. And that's just what I can see in my little corner of the suburbs of Kaministiquia. But and I try to design my own thing. It's called Métis. If you were to label it, it's art, right? That's what it is. But if you were to label it, it is called Métis woodland art.
Eugene, we're going to need to take a short little break. Please stay with us, and we're going to find out a little bit more around what's behind some of the work of artist Eugene Lefrancois. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guest today is Eugene Lefrancois, a local artist and activist. Welcome back, Eugene.
Thank you for having me again.
So, you were really talking in the last segment, I would almost call it art therapy, where you're trying to transform some of the challenges, some of the really unpleasant parts of your own life, and working with others to do that as well, into something like a brighter future, that there is kind of hope for the future. Am I capturing that?
Yeah, because when you get injured or any traumatic event, it's hard to see past that. It is really hard to see past, because it's happened to you. It's very traumatic. So it could be like the black dog could be sitting at your door and he won't move. And black dog, I mean, is depression, suicide. And if you could work through that, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but I have seen a transformation of people. It works. If you just give it a chance, it works. I used to teach at March of Dimes, and that was fun. But it was also, I try to get the people to think a little different. So the first thing I'd go in there, sometimes there'd be 35 people there. The first thing I yell out is, there's no fun here today. No laughing, no fun. It's work, work, work. Well, right off the bat, everybody's uproar and they're laughing and they're just giving me a hard time. But that also changed them. I volunteered at the youth jail. Some of those inmates never held a pencil. And some are so gifted. If they put their head on straight, they have a future in art. They are very gifted. Now I work with Willow Springs, or not so much now, but we used to work with autism kids. It was great. We get through them, but it takes time. But you can get through them through color, because color is universal. I mean, the color here, a picture, the 5.2 million shades of blue, is the same all over the world. 5.2 million shades of blue. Actually, I think there's a little more, but I mean, it's undecided. But it is so nice that you can get through people through color and through ideas, and just putting a pencil to paper, because that's their voice. That is their voice, at their speed, at their time. Some people never can get out of that, but some people can. And I'm there just as a facilitator, just giving them the opportunity to paint or draw or carve or whatever they want to do. And injured workers, I'm finding lots of them are still stuck with the black dog sitting at the door. Well, I want to get a leash on them and pull them out, but it takes time.
And I guess it's an ongoing process, and the art is one of the ways of trying to deal with those challenges we face in our lives.
Yeah, and I'm an artist. I've been an artist all my life, and I'm not even good yet. In my mind, I got paintings in my mind that I don't have the skills to do. So I'm learning. And I work with everything. Now I'm trying to learn how to play like Stevie Ray Vaughan on the guitar. But it's god dang hard. That guy was good, I mean, I used to practice a minute a month, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to really be like him. Well, it takes a little longer than that. It's like any other skill. You got to put pen to paper more than once. One student I had, I was drawing, it was an eye. So I just drew an eye.
I'll give you another one here.
And then he drew his eye. Well, he said, they don't look the same, but how come, why can't I do that? Well, I said, okay, so when was the last time you drew anything? He said, about 10 years. Well, I said, well, there's your problem. If you would have drew for 10 years, an eyeball for 10 years every day, I think you'd be good by now. So if you never pick up a pencil for 10 years and all of a sudden you want to be like Picasso, I'm sorry, it ain't going to happen.
So I understand you do art almost every day.
Oh, every day. This is the way I wake up in the morning. I try to draw my dream, or at least color my dream. And then I could get perspective of the world. It kind of calms me down, or it speeds me up. Sometimes I run late and all I can do is draw. I can't paint. But I usually, if I have a meeting, I usually wake up an hour before my 2 hour where I'm supposed to go just to do art.
So you've mostly done your own kind of creative, but in the last few years, you've been getting some commissions. So you've just done some big projects at the college, at Confederation College. Tell me about that.
Well, there was okay, so they have new residences up. One's called the Cedar, and the other one's called the Spruce. Cedar House and Spruce House. So they asked me to do these big trees. So I cut out 2 aluminum trees. Well, I didn't cut them. Sid at the college cut them. He's one of the teachers. So it's 10 feet high, made out of a 1/4 inch aluminum, and it's 5 feet wide. And on it, I have a tree, a cedar tree that I think it looks like. It's not, don't, anybody, please don't think this is the cedar tree of the year. It's not, it's my depiction. And in the tree, I have faces. And then on top, the tree is sitting on top of the sleeping giant with the sun. Because no matter where you are, you're never alone. In the forest, you're never alone. In the city, you're never alone. You may feel alone, but you're not alone. And on the spruce, it's a big spruce, 10 feet high, also sitting on the sleeping giant with faces in each limb. And they're sitting on the new residences. And now I also have, from the college, I have to do a teepee. And I did a teepee with the students at the jail. With the canvas 60 feet by 16, we did a bigger than life moose. I mean, that if we ever got one of those, every injured worker in the city would be able to have hamburger, at least.
We're just down to our last 15 seconds. If people want to see some of your art, you've got a little booth coming up at the Multicultural Festival.
May 5th and May 6th at the Folklore Festival. And I'm also at Fireweed.
So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I encourage the viewers to come out to the Multicultural Festival to meet you and see more of your art. I want to thank our audience for tuning in and encourage you to share any thoughts on our Facebook page. Thank you so much and stay safe.